Hi everyone! I'm going to be doing 5 looks, 1 palette using Blend Bunny Dollhouse. I pretty much got this the day it released because, I mean, look at this, I had to. I'm going to be focusing each look kind of to local areas, and I'll round up my thoughts as I go through the palette. So this first look, I'll be able to do it on both eyes and show you a full face. The remaining 4 looks were each done on one eye, and you'll see why very soon. But for this first look, I decided to stick with the leftmost column, and I'm kind of in a creative rut right now, so the look ended up being pretty simple. I set my eye base with the bone colored matte. I started very lightly, very sheerly applying this more warm orange tone brown, and as you can see, I'm kind of applying it in a slanted shape so it wings out a little bit. This is definitely not the most pigmented it gets, I promise you. I'm just using very little, and I'm building it up very slowly to get the shape that I want. I'm going to be using metallics later, I'm going to be using the darker matte later, so I just needed this to be very light to just kind of establish the overall tone of the look. And now I'm going to be going in with this very dark brown. So this whole row of the palette is full of extremely dark colors, and personally I absolutely love that. I definitely love the range in this palette. Now, it takes some pretty specific circumstances for me to actually get it to look true to pan, and that involves using a tacky eye base that I do not set. So as you can see here, because I used the bone colored matte first, it's not really building up completely true to pan, although it gets very close. Now, for me it's not a bad thing, and it already looks plenty deep right now. There's definitely contrast, it definitely shows up, it's, you know, it looks really rich and dark, and I love it already. But if you really want it to look more true to pan, you'll want to use a completely unset eye base. And bear in mind, these mattes blend so well, they can blend on an unset eye base. In fact, as you will see in my next 2 looks, I would strongly recommend you not set your eye base or use any kind of powder before using these eyeshadows, because they blend so well that on top of a set base, I find that I lost control of the shadows and they blended out too much. Or they just didn't adhere to the eyelid at all. So I still maintain that these are some of the best, easiest matte formulas I've ever had to work with to blend, but you do want to make sure you set yourself up for success here. I heard Tara Babies on YouTube mention how these shadows feel kind of similar to Glamlight and a couple of other indie brands, almost as if maybe they have the same manufacturer, which of course we don't know. And I can see where she's coming from, but I feel these mattes are far easier to blend than Glamlights. And as for building up to full opacity, definitely want to set it up properly, but I definitely think they blend a lot better. Now this color Lace here is absolutely one of the show-stopping shades of this entire palette. It is beautiful. I had a comment asking me to use the Surge palette, which is next on my to-do list, because of concerns over the shimmer performances. Based on the Dollhouse palette, I am pleased with the shimmers. I find personally Blend Bunny so far, the mattes are what's really getting me more so than the shimmers, but the shimmers are good, as you can see here. Particularly Lace is just so pretty. It's just a little on the chunky side, but I'll have more to talk on the shimmers later. So I hope you guys enjoyed this first look. Very basic, very simple. My bangs didn't want to cooperate, so just excuse those. For the lip, I used Sorry Not Sorry from MAC Powder Kiss. Very pretty. I gotta love an orange lip, you know? Alright, so this entire week I've had the most nasty cold sore that I've had in several months. So I've not been able to film full faces because I want my lip to heal first, so these are just being done one eye at a time. Now my lens doesn't zoom in very far, so in my attempt to keep it so you only see the eye, my camera did overexpose several shots, so please excuse me. But these 2 looks are going to be done over a set base. I used the Urban Decay powder foundation over my eyelids, and you're going to see here exactly what I was talking about earlier, where I lost control of the blending. It almost just goes too far, and I struggle to build the mattes up to look true to pan because they just can't stick to anything. My eyelid was so smooth and so powdered down and so set that there's just nothing for these shadows to grab and hold on to. So if you're wanting to make sure that these shadows don't overwhelm and intimidate you, absolutely you can set your base, but if you're trying to get some really punchy dark true to pan colors, do not set your eye base. Work on top of something tackier. These blend so easily, they can blend on anything, but on top of a set base they blend too much, too fast, and they don't build up well. I don't think that means the shadow is bad. In fact, logically, based on like science. It makes complete sense for a set powdered down eyelid to not adhere the shadow well. But it's just something I still want to let you guys know. Now, because of the fact that my eyelid was so set, I used the Pat McGrath eye wand to make sure the shimmer would show up. This shimmer reminds me of a lot of that Morphe pony shimmer I was going on and on about, so I'm glad it's in here. It is absolutely beautiful. I feel I might not have done it justice because it's on top of a powdered eyelid, but one of the things I noticed using these shimmers is that it's kind of reminding me of the Jaclyn shimmer top coats, where I feel like a lot of it stays on my finger and doesn't transfer to my eyelid. That's kind of the thing that reminded me of. Now, I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as the Jaclyn top coats, because as you can see, I'm still getting beautiful payoff. Again, lace coming through for us right there. It's a beautiful shade. I would say Blend Bunny shimmers are best off using your finger on top of a tackier eyelid, or wet your brush can look very good that way. But yeah, I did notice that was something to keep in mind. I don't think it makes the shimmers bad by any means. As you can see, they still look very beautiful, but I think when thinking about the high bar that a lot of indie brands have set for eyeshadows and how indie brands are kind of now just the thing we associate a punchy shimmer with, Blend Bunny is going to feel underwhelming kind of to some people. I can understand why they feel that way. I'm using magnetic eyelashes, so I'm using magnetic eyeliner here. That's the only reason I have eyeliner on. And then you can see with this look again, I set my both eyelids so they both are over a set base, and you can see just how quickly these shades are blending out, almost to the point where you could lose control like I almost did. So definitely be careful there. Just again, I would highly recommend you guys not set your base. I swear, not even kidding, these are so easy to blend, which, given the name Blend Bunny Cosmetics, of course we are expecting it. I wanted to kind of add some brown that was a similar depth to the more berry shade I just laid down, but was just brown, to kind of add like a vintage, faded, foggy look. But because my eyelid is so set, the brown didn't really show up hardly at all, so you can barely see it. I'm sure it'll look much better if I had not set my eyelid, but you can kind of see what I'm talking about here again. But of course it blends out beautifully. So on this eye, I ended up using the shimmer without the Pat McGrath eye wand, mostly because I forgot. And you can see here how it's pretty, but it definitely doesn't feel like an indie shimmer. Like, it kind of doesn't have that feeling. I can definitely see it looking much better on a tacky eyelid for sure, and it is extremely creamy in the pan. Plus, the entire top row of shimmers is absolutely breathtaking, but the row of dark shimmers, I feel like it's lacking something compared to, say, Terra Moons or Menagerie Cosmetics. So if you guys were buying this palette expecting the shimmers to be just as punchy and intense as a brand like Terra Moons, then maybe you'll be a little disappointed. But given just how amazing these mattes are, I think the shimmers and the mattes both make the palette worth it. Like, for how good the mattes are, the shimmers not being the world's shiniest ever is, I think, a fair compromise to take, and I'm completely happy with the performance I got. I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of the thing where it seems to stick to my finger more than it sticks to my eyelid. Now, if you were to use, say, Fire and a Pixie epoxy or NYX glitter glue, I wonder if the results would be different. So I think when I use the Surge palette, I'm going to experiment with those. But here you can see the finished look here. I went for that kind of Douyin Korean double liner effect. And that's going to finish this set of 2 looks, one on each eye, and we're going to just move on to the next looks after this. Now these 2 looks, I used the Makeup Revolution Prime and Lock. Yeah, you can see my lips still pretty bad. And as I'm voicing this over, my lips are still pretty nasty, but I used Makeup Revolution Prime and Lock. I didn't set, and look at the difference, you guys. Look at how punched up this eyeshadow is. Now, I did get a little bit of fallout with this, so, you know, but that's because I totally loaded up my brush and just went completely crazy. But look at this pigment, you guys. This is ridiculous. Here, I thought I would just kind of fuss around and see what would happen if I took my finger, and even with a finger, you can just blend out these edges so easily. Now, I did want it to be super smoky, super deep, so I'm just going completely crazy. Maybe I used a little too much, I think. It got messy towards the end, but I'll show you guys how you can clean this up. It's really easy. But like, just look look at the difference now. What a night and day difference between my previous looks with a set base and this look with an unset base. So I hope this guys really demonstrates to you guys how best to use this palette. Now this dark shimmer, again, kind of a little bit more subdued, like 20%, maybe 15 to 20% under what I would expect from an indie shimmer, but you can see it still looks beautiful, blows a lot of high-end, mid-range, and drugstore shadows out of the water, looks stunning. This gold shade, absolutely amazing, definitely up to expectation. Really, really pretty. That entire top row really performed so much better than the entire bottom row, which I found quite curious. Again, I don't own Fire and Pixie epoxy, and I should probably use my NYX glitter glue more often, so I'll try to remember to bust that out more often in the future, and I'm definitely going to try it for Surge. Now here you can see I'm kind of trying to add more mattes to kind of clean it up, but I just made it a way worse, so allow me to demonstrate. I took Urban Decay, the powder foundation, and I'm applying it across the edges very liberally and blending it out, and you can see immediately it's like magic. It cleans up so well. And now I'm using the sponge that came with the foundation, and look at that. We've cleaned up the look, everything blended out, and this is over an unset eyelid. Look at how easy the shades were to work with. Even though I made a huge mess, I was able to clean it all up. And now for the last look, I'm going to be using the last column. This column was totally the most exciting column for me because all olive greens. I definitely have made it pretty clear by now that I'm a sucker for greens. If I see olive greens in a palette, or if I see olive greens as a single, I just have to buy it. And when I saw this entire last column of Blend Bunny Dollhouse, they had my heart. So the other thing I will say about Blend Bunny is that I was using, a lot of my brushes were dirty, and because I'm a lazy slacker, I haven't washed them yet. So I was using my Luxie brushes. I can't really recommend Luxie brushes anymore because now that I have other brushes, I truly feel Luxie brushes are terrible at laying on pigment intensely. They're great for blending, but they never can seem to get the pigment full on. So you can see I'm not quite getting it true to pan. And in this case, I'm really going to blame the brushes. So you guys, just in case anyone was looking to buy Luxie brushes, they're great for blending, but I wouldn't say they're good for anything else. Now this olive metallic just made my heart fly. Unlike all the other shimmers in the bottom row, you guys, this metallic blew me away. Absolutely beautiful. Now again, a lot of it stayed on my finger, but still the finish is so impactful that my eyelids still looked amazing. Like, look at this. Is that not beautiful? I did put a little bit more of the dark matte on top just to get that depth back. But yeah, like, okay, this metallic just solved everything. Literally any tiny minute flaw in the palette has just been completely redeemed by the fact that this olive is so good, you guys. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed using this palette. It was a shame that I couldn't do more intense looks, but I thought if I'm only going to be able to do my eyes since my lips are out of commission, I'll at least give you guys 5 looks. And so yeah, that is going to wrap up this video. I put some brown liner in the waterline for this look, used magnetic lashes for both looks, and you can see, look how beautiful it is. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, found it helpful. Blend Bunny Cosmetics is definitely a brand I'm super following and I super love so far. I will be making a look with 5 looks with Surge soon, probably in the same fashion because my lip's still not healed. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. See you in the next video!